where do I fucking start? I'm tired. Like, my heart is beating so fast. Like, I try to do things the right way, and no one takes me seriously.
Ah, shit. We have hit yet another psychological jackpot. The one, the only, the queen of soul, Ari Lennox, has quit social media and wants to leave her label. And I want to talk about this because for so many years, unambiguous black women have complained online about wanting representation. They said that they wanted a black woman in her natural state, somebody dark skinned, somebody that is unambiguous with broad features. Ari Lennox is the poster child for unambiguous black women. She even sings about things that are relatable to black women. So you would think that the representation that black women begged for, that they would be all over Ari Lennox. But no, the first thing that happened was that black women ignored Ari Lennox in favor of Chloe Bailey. So Chloe Bailey is a light-skinned black woman who benefits from colorism. So I've talked about this before. A lot of unambiguous women, they will say that they want dark-skinned black representation, but they will consistently ignore the dark-skinned black women in favor of someone who benefits from an ism. Okay, so they'll ignore dark-skinned women's music in favor of the light-skinned woman. So they did this with Kelly Rowland. They ignored her in favor of Beyonce. They ignored Ari Lennox in favor of Chloe Bailey. In fact, somebody actually called it out, and they called out how Chloe Bailey's music video got more views, I guess, than Ari Lennox. Oh, and that's another thing. A lot of black women, they want other black women to increase their visibility, but then they won't give those black women the visibility. So Normani is actually another example of this. They ignored Normani's music. Meanwhile, if you look at people who are considered colorists, such as Ice Spice or even Kane, the TikTok influencer, people who are mixed race and biracial, if you look at some of those girls, they are thriving in their music careers. And who do you think their audience is? It's mainly unambiguous black women. So Ari Lennox has talked about how she has not felt protected by her label. And this is a very common talking point that you hear. One of their biggest social climbing mistakes is that they're constantly looking to others to protect them. So this could include random business people that have no loyalty to you. Whenever you go to a record label, you are their bitch, okay? You are their employee. You are their boss. So another thing that I've noticed about Ari Lennox is that when she was recently complaining, saying that her label did not protect her, she didn't name the ways in which they are required to protect her. Like, what do you mean? Like, protect your image, protect your finances, protect your social status, protect your fame. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes black women, they will use these phrases like, I'm unprotected, and they're making it sound like it's a safety issue. When in reality, these women are not seeking social justice. They're seeking social status. Ari Lennox quitting social media, this has to do more so with her sense of social status. She does not like the social status that she has as a celebrity in the industry because she has talked about her sobriety or kind of like, I guess, struggling with alcoholism and stuff like that and having bad mental health. I will put some screenshots of some of her tweets on the screen. But if you look at some of her tweets, she does a lot of complaining. You know, she does a lot of complaining on her social media. So I don't know if that has affected her brand negatively. But this is a social climbing mistake that a lot of women make. It's expecting others to give you corrective promotion. So they will talk shit about other women. They'll talk shit about you for social climbing or benefiting from an ism or benefiting from privileges. Meanwhile, these women will jump at the opportunity and run to go to white record labels, or they will run to go kind of ride the coattails of other music artists. I'm not quite sure what label Ari Lennox is a part of. I don't care enough to really research it. I think I know an Ari Lennox song. Actually, yeah, I think I know some Ari Lennox songs. Like I've heard some of her songs before, but I cannot remember any of her songs specifically. But the social climbing mistake that a lot of women make, though, is they're expecting others to correctively promote them. They want to ride the coattails of other people, or they think that people owe them something, when in reality, they actually don't. Especially if you are an employee for a label, that label is in charge. They're the boss, so they get to prioritize whoever they want. So I happen to look up who Ari Lennox is signed by, and this is very interesting. So she is signed with Dreamville Records, which is owned by J. Cole, who is a biracial man. So that's extremely interesting that you've got an unambiguous Black woman kind of riding the coattails of a biracial man's record label. Isn't that interesting? So she's riding the coattails of that label. It says online that she has more than one label. I don't know if that's possible or if that's accurate, but it says Dreamville and Interscope Records. So Interscope Records is owned by non-Black people, and then Dreamville is owned by a biracial man. So isn't it interesting how Ari Lennox has essentially wanted to ride the coattails by working with someone from the biracial community? I believe J. Cole is biracial. So she wants to ride the coattails of someone from the MLS community. She comes on Twitter and complains. She also complained about her mental health issues. So if somebody that's my employee, if they say they're having mental health issues, I'm not going to assign them extra work. So just a tip, Ari Lennox, if you tell your label, hey, I'm mentally ill or I'm struggling with sobriety or I'm, going through all this depression and stuff, them scheduling you more work and more tours and more stage shows and stuff, that's not helpful to a person's mental health. So I can actually see why, from a business perspective, why a label may not want to put somebody like that to work. Like, think about if you were to come into your job, if you came into your 9 to 5 saying that you are mentally ill and that you're struggling with like substance abuse and alcohol abuse, the people at your job, they would probably want you to get help. They would probably want you to take time off. But apparently, Ari Lennox, she did not want to take time off. She wanted to promote herself even more. So my next question is, okay, these mental illnesses that you claimed to be dealing with, were you really dealing with them, or were you just saying it to get attention? Like, did you think that by saying that you're struggling with your mental health, that like maybe your label would give you more work or something? Because that doesn't make sense. Using your mental instability as a way to garner attention and get your way, this is a common social climbing mistake that I see a lot of Black women making. They will say things like, oh, well, I'm depressed now, or, I'm going through all these isms, or nobody likes me, nobody respects me, I'm the least protected. So they're saying all of these things because they want people to come out of the woodworks and be like, oh, okay, I'll save you. I'll be your superhero. I'll come and protect you. I'll give you more work, Ari Lennox. I will promote your album more, Ari Lennox. We'll put you at the forefront of our label. So it's like, what kind of strategy is this? If what Ari Lennox really wanted was to have more promotion for herself, talking about being mentally ill and how you're overwhelmed and you don't like being in the public eye, that's not the way to do it. So once again, this lines up with one of my talking points, which is that a lot of women with inferiority complexes, they have a fear of being seen because they have that fear of being critiqued. So it's very clear that Ari Lennox, obviously she doesn't like being critiqued. The main women criticizing her are her fellow unambiguous dark-skinned Black women. I've seen people criticizing her facial features, criticizing her music, comparing her to Chloe, comparing her to light-skinned R&B artists and making the light-skinned women the standard for R&B, as opposed to making Ari Lennox her own individual person. See, this is a mistake that a lot of Black women make with Black music artists. They will measure that dark-skinned woman's success based on how she compares to light-skinned women. So I've said this before, that exoticals, not only are you the standard of beauty, but you're also the standard of living for a lot of these women, because they will literally measure their own community's success based on how they compare to you. So that's what they did with Ari Lennox, and Chloe happened to get more views than her or whatever. And so the bullying that Black women have done against Ari Lennox has become so bad to where her mental health has declined. And she has recently quit social media. Like, she literally just said she wants to get off of it. She said that she wants to leave her label. She was complaining about how her label did not buy her enough Google ads. She was like, why am I buying my own Google ads? Like, I need to be more protected. And so that's actually entitlement, because nobody actually owes you those Google ads unless it was written in the contract, and then that's a breach of contract, so you should sue them. But she didn't say anything about how that was in the contract and that's something that they promised and they are legally bound to buy her a certain number of Google ads. That's not something that she mentioned that they put like in her contract. Usually when they're running their business, they're going to advertise whoever makes them the most money. So if Ari Lennox is at J. Cole's label, or if she's at some other label and she's not giving them more traction than some of the other artists, any business person knows that obviously you want to make an investment on what you're getting a return through. So we all know that a lot of unambiguous women, they don't like other unambiguous women. So they don't listen to their music. So they don't care about Ari Lennox as much as they would care about Chloe and Halle, for example. Because Chloe and Halle are aspirational, because Chloe and Halle benefit from colorism. And I know it's very unfortunate, but I feel like it's time that we recognize the internalized colorism that a lot of the fan base has against these artists. So this is a part of where Ari Lennox's frustration comes from. It's because she's not being respected, basically. She's not being put on that same pedestal as her counterparts. She's not being celebrated by her own community. You know how they say go where you're celebrated? Well, Ari Lennox is not being celebrated. She doesn't feel celebrated. That's why she has her mental health issues and that's why she left social media. Who do you think were the main people following and interacting with Ari Lennox on social media? It was unambiguous Black people. Those were the main people that are following her. That's her main audience. She literally makes neo soul music, if I'm not mistaken. So that's almost like a subculture of R&B music. So her audience, it's pretty safe to say that her audience is extremely unambiguous and extremely monocultural, but look how her own audience treated her. Her own audience of mainly Black women has bullied her off of social media. And then Ari Lennox talked about how her vulnerability was used against her. So, that's another common thing that we see in the Black community. Sometimes Black women, they will use your mental vulnerabilities against you. So Ari Lennox was talking about how when she was going through like her alcoholism and all that, that people that all they knew her as was basically they were defining her as being a victim. So this is another thing that we talk about over here, which is how a lot of people, they have socialized themselves to view dark-skinned Black women as a victim. And so there will be random. Have you ever seen them do this with random celebrities like Flo Milli or like even Ari Lennox or just random dark-skinned Black women? They will randomly compare them to someone light skinned. They'll randomly compare their career, kind of like how they did with Keke Palmer, comparing her acting career to Zendaya's. So dark skinned women will actually do this to other dark skinned women because, like I said, their standard of living that they aspire to is that of a light skinned woman or a mixed race woman. So this is also why you see a lot of Black women creating divestment channels. It's because they want to be like Nara Smith, who's a mixed race woman married to a white male model. That is the life that a lot of unambiguous women want. So like I said, for a lot of unambiguous women who have inferiority complexes, their standard of living is a light-skinned woman. Their standard of living is a mixed race woman or a biracial woman. And so sometimes you see them projecting this onto random Black women who join the music industry, kind of like Ari Lennox. You'll see them just randomly projecting this onto her. We saw them randomly project this onto Flo Milli. We saw people randomly projecting when it came to Cleo Trappa and Ice Spice. They randomly brought up colorism in the conversation. So this whole colorism, texturism, featureism, Black women aren't protected, Black women are victims talking point, it gets continuously brought up by Black women against other Black women. And it got so bad with Ari Lennox to the point where she wants to get out of her contract with her record label. Also, have you ever noticed that no matter what an unambiguous Black woman does, other unambiguous Black women will still paint her as a victim? So I actually don't view Ari Lennox as a victim. I view Ari Lennox as being privileged because she's wealthy, she's, doing the career of her dreams. So in my opinion, I don't have a lot of empathy because I feel like a lot of Black women, they don't show empathy for privileged mixed women.
I try to do things the right way, and no one takes me seriously.
Okay, so Ari Lennox said that no one takes her seriously. So do you think that J. Cole and these major record labels would sign her and invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into her if they did not take her seriously? So that's actually a lie, saying that no one takes me seriously. No, somebody takes you seriously because you got a major record label contract. That is something that a lot of artists are fighting for. They would love to have that opportunity. They would love to go on tour. So clearly someone does take you seriously. But do you hear the victim mentality coming out even in Ari Lennox? So you're telling me that you could be a multi-millionaire Black woman, but you're still going to say nobody takes me seriously. Nobody in the whole world, nobody out of 7 billion people on this entire earth takes you seriously? Do you hear the empathy baiting? It's kind of like pity baiting that Ari Lennox is doing. So she wants the viewer to feel sorry, like nobody takes me seriously. I'm just this downtrodden unambiguous Black woman who's just been struggling with staying sober. I mean, I could see why her label would not want to promote her, because if this is what I'm investing in as a record label owner, if this is what I'm promoting, I don't want to promote that. I don't want to promote somebody who has a victim mentality, because I wouldn't want other unambiguous Black women who are viewing her content to take on that same mentality. So if her record label is truly not promoting her, I can see why.
We're here, right? We're here. We're on social media again because no one takes me seriously. Because I'm trying to be respectful, but I feel played right now. I feel really played. Like,
so Ari Lennox comes on social media complaining that she's really effing tired. So if I'm a record label owner, or if I'm an employer and I hear that my employee says that they're really effing tired, well, that would make me want to not schedule them because they're tired, right? So they need rest. So why is it that you say you're tired and then you complain when your label gives you rest and they stop assigning you work? You should be happy, right? If you were truly tired and wanted a break, then you would be fine. You'd be happy that you're taking time off from the music industry, especially if it's so toxic and no one takes you seriously, right?
I told management I didn't want this recent video to come out because I'm tired of people treating me like I'm the face of mental health. I'm tired of people treating me like they're so sorry for me. Like,
So she says she's tired of people treating her like they're sorry for her, yet she comes onto social media complaining about how she's tired and no one takes her seriously. It's literally just complaint after complaint after complaint. So usually when people complain publicly, it's because they're seeking empathy and they're seeking pity. So you can't complain 24/7 and then get mad when people pity you. That's literally the whole point of complaining. The point of complaining is because you are seeking people to emotionally soothe you. So that's what people are doing. Ari Lennox, they're trying to soothe you and say like, "Oh, I'm so sorry you're going through this." They're trying to show you the empathy that you are seeking. Oh, what? You're not actually seeking empathy? You're actually seeking social status, Ari Lennox, and you're trying to strong arm and emotionally manipulate the owners of your label into giving you more promotion. Once again, this is a bad social climbing tactic.
the whole point of this album was to take back like every fucking negative thing people have said about me and to try to own that shit and be like, fuck y'all. And there's nothing that I will ever be able to do to try to repair my reputation, because at the end of the day, people are hell-bent on painting me as this insecure person who is just the face of mental health.
So, do you hear how Ari Lennox complains about not being able to control her reputation? See, this is something I talk about a lot. A lot of unambiguous Black women who are socialized to have these inferiority complexes, they think that you can somehow control your image. Guess what? You can't, especially not if you are a public figure. If you're a public figure, you're going to be criticized. You're going to be talked about negatively. People are going to have bad opinions about you. There's nothing you can do to stop it or control it. So you're hearing Ari Lennox expressing frustration that everybody's not looking at me positively. This is very similar to the Jackie Ina thing, actually. Remember when Jackie Ina married her employee and then she blocked thousands of people and then she denied blocking people? It's the same type of mindset as Jackie Ina, where it's like, I want the positive sides of fame, but I don't want the negative sides. And that's impossible. You cannot control what others think of you. So there will always be people who think you're not shit, no matter how famous you become, no matter how rich you become. So you're hearing Ari Lennox expressing frustration, saying nobody like pays attention to me, nobody takes me seriously. I'm just seen as the face of mental health. First of all, what's wrong with being a mental health advocate? Like, what's wrong with being transparent? I thought she wanted to be transparent. So it's like, which one is it, Ari Lennox? Did you want to be transparent about your mental health issues and overcoming them? Or did you not want to tell anybody about that? Did you just want to have this perfect image where it's like, I never have any problems at all? Like, what was your social strategy for your image as an artist? Because clearly it sounds like that was not well thought out. Clearly it sounds like maybe you were depending on the label to like curate that for you. And that's not necessarily something a label is going to do. So do you see that mindset coming out again? It's that mindset of begging for corrective promotion, expecting others to correctively promote me, expecting my label or the unambiguous Black fans to see me in a perfect light and to put me on this pedestal. Because a lot of women who have never had a pedestal, they think that having a pedestal means everything's perfect and everybody sees you positively. So then when they actually get in the spotlight and people start critiquing them, then they're shocked. Like, wait, what? I'm on a pedestal and my pedestal is not perfect? And it's like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Welcome to being privileged.
I just like it's not something I ever really wanted for myself, but it's like it is what it is. Here we are, like people come up to me and they're just like, hey, how you doing? Like, are you? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, wait, how you doing? Mental health, like it, like, bro, what the fuck? Even in real life, like it's a conversation. Like I don't want to have interviews with people because it always becomes that. But the point is that I this I changed my mind against releasing this video, and I told management and I told the label, and they told me that they would take it down. They told me that it wouldn't come out. And apparently
So if they told her that it wouldn't come out, I don't believe that, because if you're making an agreement with a business, if they tell you like, oh, it's not going to come out, if it's not in writing or if it's not in a contract, you're just speaking to a low-level employee most likely. Like you're probably not speaking to the owner of that label, or you're probably just talking about office gossip and hearsay. So just because someone verbally says, "Oh, we're not going to release it," that doesn't mean that it's actually going to happen, especially if it's not legally binding. So this is actually a lack of business skill. It's a lack of business acumen. It's a lack of business knowledge, because if they didn't say in the contract, hey, you are in complete control over the music videos that get released, if they didn't say that, then they have no requirement to uphold that, because it's their label at the end of the day. You're just an employee. You're the employee. You're not the head honcho.
The people in charge of the video were unresponsive. But they're like, you know what, but everyone loves the video, so we're just going to keep it up. No, y'all are not going to manipulate me. Like, y'all are going to be accountable for that.
So that's not manipulation if they're keeping up a music video that they paid for. So if I invested thousands of dollars into an artist and into creating their music or making this music video, and then suddenly the artist says, oh, I changed my mind. That's what Ari Lennox just said. She just said that she randomly changed her mind and decided she no longer wants to be associated with like this mental health thing. Okay, so you don't get to do that. Like if I invested my money from my record label into you, and I spent the time and hired all the videographers, I hired the editors, I hired the lighting team, I hired the makeup artists and stuff, so that they can come and film your video, and then on a whim you decide, oh, I don't like it because I don't like the direction my brand is going in. No, you're my employee. So if I own a record label and I spend tens of thousands on you, and then I decide, no, I'm going to keep this out so I can get my money from releasing this on Vivo. I want to get my Google AdSense money from Vivo, from all the streams that we're going to get. I want to recoup that money that I invested, whether the employee, the artist, likes it or not. You can't get mad at that. That's not them manipulating you, Ari Lennox. That's literally them running a business. You don't get to determine and come into somebody else's record label and then demand and say, no, you don't get to release this, you don't get to release that, and say that after they've already made the video. No, you don't get to do that. And for the people who say, oh, well, other artists, they have the authority to do that. Okay, so then they have more social power than Ari Lennox. Ari Lennox does not have social power at her record label. Okay, so that's her issue within her label. She chose a label where she has no social power within that label. It sounds like she would be better off as an independent artist, but once again, she's relying on others to promote her. She's relying on others to be her corrective promotion.
Go, like, you're going to be accountable for that. I told you I wasn't comfortable with it. And like, because there was some miscommunication or someone shady, like, I don't know who, but like, I'm saying very clearly, I'm not comfortable with it being out for multiple reasons. Like, I just wish I had a label that cared, that would want to protect me. I wish I had a label that wouldn't have me out here trying to explain why I need advertisement. Like, why I need advertisement for my record. Like, why, like, Colgate spent $2 billion advertising, and they received $2 billion. And you cannot expect an artist to be anything without advertisement.
So I'm assuming she's talking about Colgate, the toothpaste brand. Ari Lennox, toothpaste is actually something that you need for your physical health. That's something you need for your dental health and hygiene. Like that is a medical item. That's something that benefits you medically. So she's basically saying, I'm the best thing since toothpaste. You spent $2 billion on this thing that helps people's hygiene. So therefore, you should spend $2 billion on me, Ari Lennox. Do you hear how insane the entitlement sounds? So she's saying her music is just as important as actual medical items that people need so that they can have good dental hygiene. That is how important her music is. You brush your teeth and you listen to Ari Lennox.
You can't. Why am I begging for advertisement? Like, why am I?
So now she actually admits out of her own mouth my talking point, which is that a lot of unambiguous women with inferiority complexes, they constantly find themselves in a beggar's position, begging to be protected, begging to be provided for, begging for corrective promotion. In Ari Lennox's case, she was begging for corrective promotion. She was begging her label. You guys need to give more money to me. You guys need to advertise my video. Oh, but at the same time, I didn't want that music video to be released. Which one is it, Ari Lennox? Did you want the music video to be out or not? Because just a second ago, you just said that you didn't want them to release the video. And now you're saying they didn't spend enough money on advertising the video. So which one is it? So that tells me you actually did want them to release the video as long as it does well and meets your expectations. You wanted it to increase your fame and status in a certain way. And when it didn't, then you got mad. And now you're saying, well, I never wanted it to be released anyway. Oh, but you didn't spend enough money advertising it. Do you hear the cognitive dissonance in Ari Lennox's talking points?
Am I paying for my own Google ads? Like, no, it's not okay. So I just want to be released. And it's just that simple. And I'm tired of being nice. And I was trying to do everything the right way, but now I'm pissed. This was my final straw. Like I have communicated effectively, and no one cares. So now we're here in toxic ass social media world. Or this is how I'm deciding to express myself in a toxic way. Like,
Okay, so then she admits that this is how she's deciding to express herself in a toxic way. So she's admitting that it's toxic, but she's not stopping it. She's going to continue being toxic. She is going to continue posting and defaming them on social media as a way to get their attention and try to emotionally manipulate them into doing what she wants at that label. Anyway, what do you ladies think? Is Ari Lennox entitled? Should Ari Lennox be more famous? Whose fault is it that Ari Lennox did not pop off in the way that she should have? Whose fault is it? Is it her label's fault? Or is it the fault of Ari Lennox and her own audience that just don't want to listen to her music? Let me know what you think in the comment section, and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.